All right. Thank you, everybody. Welcome. And thank you for your patience. Sorry, we were a few minutes late getting started. Not unlike our Tuesday and Saturday workouts in Central Park. Welcome to this very special kickoff panel discussion for the Achilles Hope and Possibility virtual 5K and 10 miler by TD Bank. So happy to have you all here. My name is Michael Anderson. I'm the director of the New York City chapter of Achilles International, and I am incredibly excited to welcome a star-studded panel for this evening's live event. So we're going to be talking about the history of Achilles, about hope and possibility, about everyone's experiences and why this race means so much and is so incredibly meaningful. We still just have two more panelists joining. So in the meantime, I just want to share with you all a little bit about what Achilles is in case you are joining us for the first time. The mission of Achilles International is to embrace people with all disabilities and to transform the lives of people with disabilities through athletics and through social connections. Achilles was founded in 1983 by Dick Traum. He is the first ever amputee runner to tackle a marathon, and not just any marathon, but the 1976 New York City Marathon, which went through 5 girls for the first time. Dick created a whole movement in the unthinkable by running a marathon on a prosthetic leg that inspired so many people, such as Terry Fox, who attempted to run across Canada, and so many others. And in 1983, Achilles was started, and we are all incredibly excited to continue the mission of Achilles. So what is the Hope and Possibility race? Some of you may know about a book called I Am the Central Park Jogger, A Story of Hope and Possibility. That book was written by Tricia Miley. Tricia is the founding board chair of Achilles. And for those who don't know her story, she was out for a run one evening in the 1980s and she was beaten, she was raped, and she was nearly murdered and left for dead in Central Park. It's a very, very long road to recovery for Tricia. She went through a dark time, but she found strength, and through her own personal journey and through joining Achilles, she found that strength to overcome and to really retake her life after a traumatic brain injury and other life-altering experiences. And when Achilles was looking to do a race in partnership with the New York Roadrunners, we couldn't have been more proud to take the name of our event, the Achilles Hope and Possibility Race, as inspired by Tricia's message of hope. So I'm just incredibly excited to be have this wonderful panel here. So I'm going to start by introducing our panelists. Joining me on the panel, she is a professional runner, and she is the New York City Tracksmith community manager, as well as a coach at the New York Roadrunners. She is Mary Cain. Hi, Mary. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everybody.
Also joining us, Billy Davis. He is a survivor and he's a fighter, and we are excited to have him. Billy, you can tell me how many years ago, but Billy was in a terrible motorcycle accident and is lucky to be alive. He lost his leg in that motorcycle accident, and when he awoke from a coma, the first thing he wanted was a cheeseburger and a Coke. And in his journey, you can see behind him his other family, the Achilles Triathlon family. So we're really excited to have Billy here. He has a history with this wonderful race and with our organization. So we're psyched to have Billy. Welcome. Also joining us is Earl Granville. Say hello, Earl. Earl.
Hey, thanks.
Absolutely. Earl is a member of the Achilles Freedom Team. Back in 2004, Earl, while fighting for our country in Afghanistan, he lost part of his leg in a roadside bombing incident, and through his recovery, he found Achilles. But I don't want to give too much away because I'm excited to hear more from Earl about how he came to find us. We're really excited to have him on. Also joining us is Tyrrell Schmidt. Tyrrell is a longtime Achilles guide, and she is a TD Bank employee. And she is a big reason why we have this partnership with TD, which we're going to learn more about in just a little bit. So Tyrrell has a great history of guiding Achilles runners throughout the U.S., throughout Canada, and the world, I believe. And she has a great history with Hope and Possibility as well. So we're excited to have Tyrrell on the call. And then also joining us is Emily Finkelstein, super volunteer. Say hello, Emily.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, there you are. Awesome. And Emily has been, well, she's been in this time, we've all been adjusting. So Emily has been a virtual guide to Zina Whitley. Say hello, Zina.
Hi everyone. How are you?
Hey, Zina, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Zina joined the Achilles
Sorry.
International New York City chapter just under a year ago. And Zina, I miss you and your family, giving you like a big Zoom hug right now. I just miss having you all in Central Park. So Emily has been providing virtual support to Zina as she takes on her first Hope and Possibility. So we're going to hear about her journey, joining us for the first time in this wonderful race under somewhat unusual circumstances. So these are our panelists. I'm so excited to have you. So I also want to mention, you can still sign up for the race. The race starts tomorrow, and that's what's great about a virtual race. You have 9 days to do it. You don't have to do it on just one day. You sign up, we'll send you one of these. It is your bib that you can wear with pride on race day. I'm still figuring out when I'm going to do my race. I actually have 2 of them because I'm doing the 10-miler and the 5K, as many of you are. So you can still sign up. You don't need your bib to run. It's a souvenir. It's a keepsake. We love it if you wear it. But the most important thing is go to our website, achillesinternational.org, and that'll take you to the registration page with our partners at Elite Feats. Sign up. Get out and do it. It's a 5K. You can walk it. You can run it. You can do a combination. And there's a 10-miler if you're a hand cyclist or a push-rim athlete or a cyclist or a tandem biker, and 5K is not quite challenging enough for you. You can do the 10 miles. So you can run or walk any of those distances. So please sign up. It's simple. You run or walk or wheel. You go to the website. You select the event. You select your name. Enter your time. You're done. You have now completed the virtual event. So we're psyched to have you. So we're going to get this panel started. I first want to kick it over first to our newest friend, Mary Cain. Like I mentioned, she is a professional runner, and she is the newest member of the Tracksmith team, joining us as the New York City community manager for Tracksmith. And I also want to mention why Tracksmith is such an important partner to Achilles. It was about a year and a half or 2 years ago when our Boston chapter, which is a very thriving and active chapter, unfortunately, on very short notice, they lost their home run base. And a volunteer talked to Lou Serafini from Tracksmith and said, "Can Achilles come and use this as our space on Saturday mornings?" And Lou was like, "Absolutely. This is a done deal." And on short notice, Tracksmith stepped in and saved the Achilles Boston chapter, which is really awesome. So Mary, it is so great to have you. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations on your new role with Tracksmith. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing with Tracksmith and how you're going to be, bringing the New York City running community together.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, hi everybody. It's really nice to meet all of you. I think this is the biggest Zoom call I've been in, so it's been fun like scrolling through and kind of virtually waving to everybody. But I started with my role at Tracksmith. We're like the little rabbit logo guys this past April, and it's been really fun. This past week, I've been actually like setting up calls with all the different teams in the city, just trying to introduce myself, and I've gotten a really warm welcome, even though I've lived here for like a year and a half. So this isn't exactly like a new move or anything for me. But yeah, so our goal is long term to also set up a shop here in the city. Hopefully, have it be in a place where teams from all over the city can come, start their runs, finish their runs, have a bag drop. And so I hope soon to be doing the loo and setting up an extra space for you guys to come and have events. And next time when we're all able to do this together, hopefully we can be using the Tracksmith space to celebrate the next hope and possibility run.
Oh, that would be awesome. I look forward to that day. We'll all be patient. I know it's going to take some time. Baby steps, what we're excited about is the gradual process of eventually starting to get athletes and guides together, running clubs together to run together. And when that time comes, Mary, you're going to be getting one of these. It's an Achilles guide shirt. We're going to get you
Yes.
up there. We're going to get you guiding with us. We can't wait. I know a couple of our runners were very excited when they found out you were on the call and were asking me, can I get out for a run with Mary? It's like, hey,
I would love that. I need some running buddies, guys. I've been running alone like every single day. It's not nearly as fun as when you have your friends to run with.
as most of us have. So we're really excited. So next year, under different circumstances, you'll be joining us, and you won't be the first from Tracksmith. We've had others that have signed on as guides for Hope and Possibility and other races. So it's just going to be so great. So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit, as many on the call will. So we're coming out of this unusual period where most of us have either been doing very little to no running since early March, just doing indoor exercises and cardio, maybe just a little bit of walking and running outside, and then in the last, say, 30 to 45 days, just starting to kind of bring back our training, knowing that it's nowhere near where it was when a lot of us were training for, say, New York City half and other races like that. So given that, now that we're here and race day is tomorrow through Sunday the 26th, what advice do you have to the runners, walkers, and wheelers about trying to find that right, level of comfort and competitiveness without overdoing it?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So, for those of you who don't know a little bit about my running background, I very early on in my career as a late high school runner, early, college years, I was running very high level on the professional circuit. So many of my PRs are from like 4 or 5 years ago. And unfortunately, I went through an injury spell where I wasn't really running or training for maybe about 3 years. And over the last year or so, I've gotten back into running. And one of the hardest things to do in my mind is to take it easy on yourself. And so as soon as you hit the track, it's your day one, you're thinking, okay, I'm here to PR. And the truth is, that's not going to happen every day. A PR is a PR because you were running your absolute best for that day, given the conditions, given your training, everything. And so my biggest recommendation is to first off, set an intention before you go out for the race for why you are racing. Are you racing because you're so excited to be a part of the Achilles team? Are you racing because this is going to motivate your training going forward? Are you racing in dedication of a friend, in dedication of yourself? Whatever it is, set your intention before you go out. And during the run, as you're pushing, as it's starting to burn, if you're falling off the pace that you were hoping to get, remember your why. Because as soon as you snap back into it and you're like, I'm here because I'm part of Team Achilles, I'm here because I can beat the heat, whatever your little mantra is, it's going to get you to keep pushing, stay motivated, and have fun, which is the most important thing about racing.
That's awesome. And that's great advice, finding your why. So think about that. Your why could be so many things. It could be, a family member who's not well. It just could be your own personal goals that you've set out to have for yourself, for your own personal wellness. So as you all have noticed, whether you're here in New York City or if you're in Washington, D.C. or wherever you are, it is going to be a hot, hot, humid weekend. So before we get into hot weather tips, I just want to remind you, you pick the day that's best for you. So maybe Sunday or Monday are not your best days, but you pick the day that's best for you based on the weather and your schedule and when you're going to do your event or race. Now, Mary, you're a Northeast runner, so you know a few things about running in the heat. So what tips do you have for runners who are going to be doing this at a high level, higher, more motivated than their normal training pace?
Yeah, totally. So I know over the last probably month or so, have been dealing with what every other person here in New York, or really probably anywhere across the country, is dealing with, which is the temperature change. And so I talked with my coach, I talked with my teammates, and what most nutritionists, professionals kind of within the industry say is that you should be drinking probably every 7 to 8 minutes on average, the size of an egg. So that doesn't mean every 8 minutes you need to drink water the size of an egg, but after, let's say, 35 minutes, you probably want 5 egg-shaped filled sips of water. So what I've been trying to do personally is I like to run when I come up to Central Park. It's about the 6-mile loop. And so usually if I'm just doing an easy run, I only need to drink those 6 sips of water every 6 miles or so. But during a race, if you feel you're somebody who needs a little bit more hydration early on, totally try to get that small amount in. It's not a ton, but if you just consistently do it over the course of the race, whether you have one of those packs around your waist or whatever kind of capabilities you have to carry a small thing of water, I think that should be able to get you through both of the distances. But don't feel you need to drink literally on the dot every 7 to 8 minutes. It's more just on average. Those are good ideas. But depending on what time of day you run, if it's first thing in the morning, just make sure you get a big glass of water, and nothing too much that it upsets your stomach, but don't go into the race without drinking. And if you're running more in the evening when it's less humid, just make sure over the course of the day, you're trying to drink water, maybe add some, noon packs, or I don't know what the different brands are with electrolytes, if that kind of feels a little bit more like race day motivation. I know I sometimes do that on workout days. I'll just dump some electrolytes in, and then suddenly I feel like I'm automatically going to run faster, which probably isn't true, but sometimes it's about the head, right?
That does help. If you're helping yourself mentally, then you're doing a good thing. And do you recommend that people adjust not only their pace but their expectations? If someone is, I was hoping to run a 28-minute 5K and it's going to be hotter than usual, what do you recommend to runners who have a certain goal in mind and it's just you can't do anything about the heat?
I think this is when running based on effort is just so important. If you're a little worried about the temperature on the day that you're going to be out there competing, I would honestly maybe use this as a challenge to run completely by feel. Don't even look at your GPS watch. If you feel like it's kind of going to get into your head, run based on what your body, your heart, your legs, all of your inner signals are telling you. Because sometimes that can really actually bring out a surprisingly good effort. Because if you check your watch too early and you're a little off the pace and you're maybe a little disappointed, you might start to slow down. But if you're out there, you're just trying to stay comfortable, you're staying within your effort levels, you're saving it until the end where you can finish a little bit harder. If you do that, it might actually help you get a little bit more out of yourself. And you know what? If at the end you feel awesome, you killed it, you rocked the whole race, and you realize it was a little bit slower than expected, that's okay. It's really hot out. We're from the pros to first time runners, we're all a little bit off our times right now. So don't worry about it.
Oh, that's great. It's great advice. Thank you. Thank you, Mary. I want to hear from some of the other panelists, so just sit tight. I want to take it over to both Zina and Emily first. So, Zina, this is your first ever Hope and Possibility. So this has obviously been a little bit tricky for you. And Emily, you've been providing support to Zina virtually since we can't be together. So first thing I want to ask though, Zina, is you joined Achilles, within the last year or so. And now that this is your first Hope and Possibility, I'd love to hear, what was it like the first day that you joined us here at Achilles International in Central Park?
To be honest, I was a little nervous because I haven't run. And this is my first time running in like an open field. So it was a little nervous for me for being on a different type of surface and having this new feeling of, this new energy coming out of me when I'm running. And I just felt like, motivated because Emily was there and she helped me push myself. Even when I was tired, I was like, no, I can't do it. She was like, no, you can. She motivated me, even though, there was times I doubted myself. So it felt good. It felt like inspirational in a sense. And it just helped me like feel like different, like something I haven't felt in a long time since I was a teenager. Yeah. So it helped me bring back that feeling.
That's so, awesome. I remember that energy you had. Emily, what do you remember about Zina's first day and your first time guiding her?
It was a lot of fun. We I played a playlist, and I think that was the first thing that Zina and I had connected on, is that we had the same taste in like bubblegum pop music from the 90s. So it was just a really great time, and I was just really struck by the fact that as soon as we finished our run, Zina was like, well, we're going to go further next week, right? And she was just so motivated. So it was one of the best days of 2020 for me by far. Not that 2020 has been great, but it's one of the best days I can remember in recent memory.
And what I remember, I was so moved. So Zina, I'll share a little bit about Zina's story, if you don't mind. Zina is a stroke survivor. She found Achilles International, and she'd been trying to do some exercising in her neighborhood, but by joining us, she found that freedom and just got so much more out of the community aspect of it. And I was so incredibly impressed that you were in the midst of raising your son, pursuing your degree from City College in graphic design. And I'm happy to share that in the midst of COVID-19 and all the craziness, Zina has graduated. So congratulations, Zina. We are so proud of you. Now, tell us about the plan for Hope and Possibility. I believe you're going to be joined by your husband, Stanley, your son, Marcus. You guys are going to go for a 5K route. Is it going to be around your neighborhood? What's your plan?
It's gonna be around my neighborhood, mostly around the boardwalk, because our boardwalk stretches from Manhattan Beach all the way from Brighton to Coney Island. So that's like a long, a long strip to run. So that'll actually help me a lot, to be honest. I'll just start in the morning, since the morning's a lot cooler and it's easy for me to actually do what I have to do in the morning. So we're just gonna wake up really early and just do it straight. I just like to do things in the morning. I'm a morning person, so I think this will really brighten up my day when I do this exercise, especially.
I think that's going to benefit you.
Yeah, so that's basically my plan, just to do the boardwalk strip and
get a cool ocean breeze. Please take pictures and send them to us. We're so excited, and I can't wait to have you and your family back joining us in Central Park when the time comes. And good luck with your first Hope and Possibility, Zina. You got this. Nice. I wanted to talk next to got it, Zina. I want to move on next to someone who is an Achilles Freedom Team member and a close personal friend of mine, and that is Earl Granville. Earl, how are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, Mike, thanks for having me, man. I'm humbled to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. So as I mentioned earlier, Earl is a U.S. veteran. He was wounded by roadside bombing in Afghanistan in 2004. Do I have the year right, Earl?
It's actually 2008.
2008. Sorry, my bad. So Earl was recovering at Walter Reed Hospital, and tell us about how you found your way from not only Walter Reed, but to Achilles and to Hope and Possibility. I think it all kind of happened at once. Like, tell us about that, Earl.
Yeah, so it was a little over a year after I lost my leg in Afghanistan, and I was still at Walter Reed going through recovery, still active duty in the Army. And how I met Achilles is some friends of mine were going to do this. At the time, I believe it was a 5-miler, Hopes and Possibilities. And they said, oh, yeah, we're going to do this 5-miler tomorrow. You should come join us. And I just, next morning, I got on the bus, and there was Janet, the director of the Freedom Team, and Jenna, who's also employed with the Freedom Team, and said, who are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm Earl. Can I come and play with you guys? You know, like one of those things. And yeah, that was it.
So you literally was like, what are you guys doing? Let's all go to New York and run this thing called the Hope and Possibility 5-miler.
That's pretty much it. And you know what? They would still welcome me in open arms like it was nothing. So, I mean, it tells you the heart of the Freedom Team right there.
That's
very
amazing.
welcoming.
That's amazing. So I remember my first Hope and Possibility was 3 years ago. I was new to my role as director, and I was at the finish line with Larry Sillin and with Dick Tron. We're getting pictures, and all of a sudden I see Earl coming in carrying a cinder block over his shoulder, and he's moving, and he's got his Freedom Team crew with him, and I was like, what's going on here? So I thought maybe, you know, I didn't know what it was about. I thought maybe there was a joke behind it, but it turned out to be completely profound. So tell us about your cinder block and why you carry a cinder block for 4 miles through Central Park while running.
So I'll tell you what, guys, a little bit about my backstory is I joined the military. My twin brother, Joe, talked me joining the military. And while we were in basic training, 9/11 happened. So I knew this was something more than college money. This was something much bigger than all of us. And so on my third deployment, I lost my leg from a roadside bomb. And I could say I got lucky. That's the best way to put it. You know, I was moved last minute, and 2 of my buddies got killed, Specialist Derek Holland and Major Scott Haggerty. So, you know, I just lost my leg through the knee, my left leg through the knee. So, I mean, I'm still here today to talk about it. So, no complaints. So as I move forward, you know, after I met the Freedom Team, about a year and a half after meeting the Freedom Team, my twin brother, Joe, was still on active duty. He ended up taking his own life. Heavy stuff, guys. And losing my leg was pretty easy, but losing Joe and the atmosphere and how he did it, it crushed me. And you can imagine what I was going through after that. And what I found myself doing was physically challenging myself to do things in honor of my brother. And I won't go over. I feel humbled. I got a nice resume of things I've physically accomplished after I lost my leg. You know, a few marathons with Achilles. I helped run nonprofits in the military sector, but in the midst of all this, at one race, I found half a cinder block sitting on the ground. And for whatever reason, my team and we had chains. It was a Warrior Dash in Pennsylvania. We just took the chains that we had, put them around the cinder block, and I crossed the finish line with it. And then somebody said, well, what's the meaning behind it? And I didn't have it, meaning, so I thought I'd give it some meaning. So her name is Cindy, and I don't have the actual Cindy with me here, but friends of mine, my friend of mine, she makes little keychains just so I always have one with me. I guess you can call it that. What Cindy represents is a heavy mental adversity that we all face as human beings, all of us. Guilt, stress, depression, anxiety. You can imagine how mentally some people are taking this whole COVID situation, out being social people, and now we're told to quarantine. So it's tough. It's tough right now. And so that wave of adversity holds us down and stops us from enjoying life. The idea of Cindy when I run these races, carrying this cinder block, is I always run with a team. And in our team, we all carry the weight together. We all carry Cindy together. And I want to remind, Cindy's a reminder up in here that we also can help carry the burden of somebody else, physically and mentally. And that's, so as we carry Cindy as a team together up here as well, especially nowadays, we all have to look out for one another in these hard times that we're faced now, and being quarantined and not really getting out and seeing one another. And, we're all just a phone call away from one another, or even these Zoom calls or FaceTime, whatever it may be. I always feel like those face-to-face interactions, we can't do it in person. Well, it's better to talk face-to-face like it's such. And us as human beings and us as society, it's just a reminder not to carry the weight of adversity by yourself. And that's what Cindy represents.
And I just want to say, just personally, Earl, thank you. It meant so much to me the first time that we met and you told me your story, and I was blown away. And I remember it was a particularly tough year for me personally, and for you to be carrying those sorrows meant so much. So I'm so glad that we have gotten to become close over the years, and good luck with your 10-miler wherever you're doing it.
Thank you so much. I got a 10K tomorrow, but I don't have my bib, so I'm not even counting through it. So I'm sucking on my Pedialyte right now in this humidity in Ohio. Whew.
You got this, Earl. All right. I want to talk now to another close friend of mine, a close friend of Achilles, and that is Billy Davis. Billy, it's so great to have you on the call. Billy, tell us a little bit about your journey and your story and what led you to Achilles.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah, of course. By the way, Michael, I love that background. It's very, very Basquiat. My name is Billy Davis. 46. I was actually, what led me to Achilles, as Michael said, was a motorcycle accident. I was a Division I athlete back for the University of Kansas in the early 90s. I was a sprinter. I was actually on the track team. I was a sprinter. So distance running was not something I enjoyed, endorsed, liked, or ever wanted to do. But eventually I got into fitness, and I always thought, I was one of those trainers that said, oh, I'm going to do an Ironman one of these days. I'll do a triathlon. But I never knew how to swim. About 8 years ago, May 19th, actually, 2012, I was in a motorcycle accident. I was, crazy set of circumstances happened, and I had this horrific accident. And the end of it was I had a compound fracture in my fibia tibia, dislocated knee, broke my femur in a couple of places, snapped my femoral artery, and just destroyed my one leg. And after 11 hours of surgery, 4 blood transfusions, flatlining twice, and then being in a coma for 5 days, as Michael said, I woke up and the first words out of my mouth were, can a brother get a cheeseburger and a Coke? So I remember very distinctly being in the ICU, and as I grappled with my new reality, trying to think, I went more into an athlete's mentality. I was a personal trainer at the time. And I remember thinking, I need to find something fitness-wise that's harder than being an amputee. And what kept popping into my head, to be honest, was the word Ironman. And I didn't know how to swim. I knew I hated distance, but I knew I loved being on 2 wheels, and cycling was a thing. So after I got out, I spoke to my prosthetist, and he said, hey, you got to join Achilles. Because I thought, well, if I can start running, that's got to be a start. And when I started with Achilles, I didn't have a leg. So I would walk, the miles in Central Park or ride my bike when I could. And eventually when Achilles started a triathlon team a few years later, I signed up. I took swim lessons for 6 months. And after 6 months of swimming, I jumped in the Hudson and tried to do I didn't try. I did the New York City triathlon, which I do not recommend after only 6 months of swim training. But I did it, and lucky if a Dorito bag can swim it in 30 minutes, I drank water for 30 minutes until I finished, got out, and finished dead last in the New York City Triathlon. And the next year I went back and did it again. And the cool thing I did along the way is I figured out a way to parlay that into fundraising efforts and started using the New York City Triathlon and my training with Achilles to raise money for amputees for people that were outside of the box. So, and it's been a great relationship. The people I've met through Achilles have been some of the closest people to my heart, including yourself, Michael. So that's what I do now.
Oh, thanks, Billy. And thank you for sharing your story. So last year you were out there in Central Park. You ran those 4 miles along with our mutual friend, Mary Johnson, and your friends from Aesthetics in Motion. And it was an awesome day. And now this year you're doing something a little bit different. How are you competing in Hope and Possibility this year? Yeah,
so this year consciously, I think I did it subconsciously. I actually left my leg in the gym before they locked down the gym. So I just assumed, I'll be able to come back and get it later. And so my leg is actually locked up about 3 blocks away at my gym and has been there since March. So I'm going to go back to my roots and I'm going to cycle 10. I haven't been able to get on a hand cycle, but I have a bike right here and I've been riding that consistently. So tomorrow or over the weekend, I'm going to get in a good solid 10 miles as fast as I can for the Hope and Possibility that way. Looking forward to it.
That's awesome. And I am so psyched. I'll be tracking you on Strava as I always do. So get after it, Billy.
Yeah, man.
Kick butt.
Thank you.
Got it. So one of the cool things about this year's virtual race is we have additional options. Instead of just the 4-mile run and hand cycle, we've got the 10-mile run. We've got the 10-mile upright, the 10-mile tandem, the hand cycle, and the push rim. And that really came as a result of our partnership with TD Bank. TD Bank, lucky for us when we said we wanted this to be a virtual race, they said, we're all in. We just have one thing. Why don't we open this up to cyclists and tandem riders? As many of you know, TD sponsors the Fireborough Bike Tour. So it made perfect sense. So we were incredibly excited to be able to expand this category to others and be more inclusive, which is great. So I want to chat now with Tyrrell Schmidt, who has been an Achilles volunteer and guide for a long time. Tyrrell, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? I have this great Hope and Possibilities presented by TD shirt on, and you just can't see it because I also have a whole contraption that's holding up my Zoom. So yeah, but doing well.
Awesome. So you've been a guide with Achilles for a good bit of time. Do you have a favorite memory or story of guiding either in Hope and Possibility or any Achilles race that you've guided in?
Yeah, it's almost impossible, Michael, to even say which one or that there's a favorite memory. Even just, listening to Earl, listening to Billy, Zina, it just brings back all of the reasons that make guiding in Achilles just such a special thing. I think for Hope and Possibility, it's just, you just see everybody out there together and working together, and you just, you really see what humans can accomplish, and it's inspiring. And every race that I've ever done, whether it's with people who are visually impaired, or I ran the Goof or Dopey Challenge in Disney with Cedric King and others, and had a chance to guide in that. And it's just every time it's inspiring, and I walk away. I always feel like I walk away gaining more by far than I give, and that's through the amazing community that Achilles is, and the friendships. And what makes it super special is just going to all of these races, and the longer you're involved in the community, the more people you meet and the more people you know, and it's just awe-inspiring each and every event.
That's awesome. And I know how much fun it was to have you last year. I know that you've often run with our mutual friend, Anthony Butler.
I have.
Looking forward to us all being able to do that again. As I mentioned earlier, we at Achilles were incredibly fortunate to have TD Bank as our sponsor for this event year from last year to this year, through it being from a 6,000 person gathering in Central Park to what it is now as a virtual community gathering. Can you tell us a little bit about what it means for you, for TD, to be associated with Achilles, especially, you know, under this umbrella of diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, you know, absolutely. I think what I'm most gratified by is just seeing two amazing organizations who really share values. And at the end of the day, that's really important. Whoever you partner with, you want to make sure that you have a shared sense of values. At TD, our mission is around enriching the lives of our customers, our colleagues, and communities. And so, you know, and a lot of that is through building community, but also through diversity and inclusion. So we have, you know, really a significant commitment to, you know, making sure that everybody feels included, and that is also, you know, inclusive of people with disabilities. And so what a match made in heaven, right? I just look at this and it's just such a fantastic partnership. And, you know, I couldn't be more proud of my colleagues in the US who also have worked with Achilles. I think you really see magic in, you know, some of the innovation that you talked about. Who would have thought that we would not be doing this in person in Central Park? And, you know, so to come together and find a different way to celebrate, you know, what makes this such a special event is really, really terrific. For TD, you know, I just couldn't be, you know, I'm just thrilled. I think last year was our first year as presenting sponsor, and I think we had 70 participants, and this year, different format, and we are hoping to get to at least 400. So I think count last night was almost 350. So we've just got a lot of passionate colleagues who are, you know, diving in full of enthusiasm for this great organization in Achilles.
Awesome. And it has meant so much to us to have your support, you know, not only as a guy, but TD's support to help us continue our mission. I know that our race director, Jenna Griffith, she and I, every time that, pretty much like every hour, hitting refresh, how many people sign up? And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, 100 people just signed up, and we go, and it was like, you know, 30 of them are TD. So I'm overwhelmed by how many of your team members have signed on to join us, and we're psyched. We want to break like 3,000 people for this virtual race.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Sign up. Yeah. When Mary and I first started talking about her coming to New York as the Tracksmith community manager, one of the things we were chatting about is, you know, us as runners, removing those, you know, for lack of a better word, blind spots, and being more welcoming of others. And I just want to open this up to the panel. So whether you're a guide or you're an athlete, you know, tell me, I'll start with you, Tyrrell. Tell me about your first time with Achilles, and, you know, what it meant to you, and was there a nervousness? And you know, what advice would you give to others that are a little bit like, a little on, you know, on the fence about coming out to either to become a runner for the first time or to become a guide with Achilles for the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was nervous. What's interesting about it, so I've been running since I was maybe 20, and you know, so I was an experienced runner, but nevertheless, there's always that little thing in the back of your mind saying, you know, how am I going to engage? How, you know, what if I can't keep up? What, you know, how will this all work? And you know, what I've found, and I've had the great pleasure of running with Achilles in New York, and I don't mean races, but I mean with the New York chapter, or with the Philly chapter, or the chapter in Canada. And what I find is that the people who participate, guides and athletes, are just incredibly welcoming. And so, you know, what I would say is come out. There is somebody who will run your pace, can run your pace, will walk with you. You know, we've had people who, you know, can do a marathon on a regular occasion, and so we have to find people, guides for those athletes. We've had people who have suffered traumatic brain injury and are, you know, relearning to walk around the block. And so, you know, we have people who walk. And I think that's the beauty of Achilles, is just the community that's built and the partnership between the guides and the athletes. So, of course, anything new is nerve-wracking, but I would just say dive in. You will not regret it at all, ever for a minute.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Tyrrell. And thank you for all of your support. Billy, first time out must have been a little bit nerve-wracking. What advice would you give, you know, if you were to sort of change it all and do it again, what would you say would have made it maybe a better experience for you your first time coming out?
Oh man, I mean, I think, you know, for this type of thing, you know, Mary Cain had mentioned earlier, you know, to kind of have fun and find your why. I would say something like that, like have fun. I mean, the thing about this type of race, and I tell, you know, I'm still in fitness and I've worked with a lot of Achilles athletes, a lot of able-bodied people. And I always tell them, you know, at the end of the day, you're probably not a pro and you're probably not going to compete to where you're going to come in like top 3 of your whatever. And this type of event is really one of those ones that it's really just about having fun. So there doesn't have to be this pressure that you have to break a record. You gotta, you know, you finish when you finish, start when you start, and have fun. I mean, the Achilles, the Hope and Possibility is one of those things where if you can run, great. If you can jog, great. If it's a walk jog, great. If it's a walk, great. If somebody has to push, pull, or carry you, that's fine too. Just get out there, enjoy the weather, and enjoy the fellowship of the rest of the athletes, because that's really what it's all about. The unique thing about this race in particular to me is that this is one of the only events that we do for Achilles where really anybody who's affiliated with Achilles can show up, and there is zero pressure on anyone to perform. You know, you gotta, if you want to do a triathlon, you got to make sure you can swim. If you want to do the marathon, you got to qualify. You know, the 5Ks, and like Achilles, the Hope and Possibility, just show up and start when they say start and finish when you get there. And along the way, you're probably going to have a great conversation with somebody who's about your pace and that's a really great thing. I mean, the first year I did it, I barely jogged any of it. And towards the end, I ran into John Stewart. Like, who knew? You know, like, so I mean, you know, you just have a good time with it and just have fun. I mean, that's really the bottom line. Just go out there, enjoy the weather, make sure you stay hydrated, and just have fun. Do what you do. Don't do what you don't do. Don't put any pressure on yourself. You know, make sure that you take a lot of pictures. Make sure that you get in a lot of other people's pictures, photobomb a bunch of people, and just have a blast.
Nice. Thank you, Billy, and good luck.
Thank you.
Zina, I know you were incredibly nervous before your first time joining us. What advice would you have to people who are new and are feeling a little intimidated?
My advice would be, it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to start something new, and it's fine. You know, you just get out there, like Billy said, get out there, have fun, just enjoy it. You know, go by your own pace, take your own time. You know, it's something to be enjoyed. It's not something to be pressured. Yeah, that's my advice too.
Yeah, I just remember how incredibly moved I was having you. I saw the mixture of joy and tears on your face after your first run with us. And it energized me, it energized Emily. It just made us feel so good about the work we're doing. So congratulations again on all your accomplishments this year. And I'm looking forward to seeing you and your family again. And Mary, what advice do you have? Because people sometimes say, "Oh, I'm too intimidated. You know, running's not for me." What advice would you have?
Yeah, I think one thing that Billy had said was that, you know, it's super important to have fun. And he said, probably many of us aren't going to be pros. I'm a pro. And I'm going to tell you one thing. I run terribly, terribly if I'm not having fun with it. End of story. If I am too nervous, if I am too built up in my head about the time, about the competition, about the pace, or anything that I can't control, like how my stomach might feel the day of, or whatever it is, I will not run well. And then I won't have fun. And then what the heck was the whole point of it? So I definitely agree with everybody who has spoken before me, which is that if you go out there and you're in the right state of mind, if you're just excited to be out there, have your goals, want to work hard, whatever your kind of intention is for the day, shoot for it. But if it doesn't quite happen, you got out there, you did more, you know, made more of a difference just by taking that time to kind of spend on yourself and work on trying to complete this, you know, difficult challenge than you would getting almost too nervous beforehand. So take it from a pro, no need to get overly nervous, just enjoy the experience.
And yeah, that's what we say at Achilles. Yes, while our mission is on running, it's about the joy and the achievement of accomplishing as a community, athletes and guides together, whether even if you just want to come out and walk a mile with us on a Saturday, or you want to train for a marathon, it doesn't matter. Just come join us. And if those of you who are new, just go to our website, achillesinternational.org. If you are a person with a disability and you want to join us, there's information on how to get involved. You're a volunteer, just click on volunteers. But please don't hesitate. Just do it. We'd love to have you. So we've got a few minutes left. So now I'd like it to open up the Zoom event to questions. If anyone has any questions for Mary, Billy, Earl, Tyrrell, myself, Zina, or Emily, this is the time to do it. So we're going to enable the chat function. So just you can type in your question, or you can say, I have a question, and we'll call on you. So go ahead if anyone has any questions for the panel. Don't see any yet. Just want to make sure Lauren's able to make it so that everyone can type.
Hi, Michael. It's Barbara. How are you?
Oh, hey, Barbara.
How you doing?
Great. Oh, so tell us what's going on. Do you have a question for the panel?
Actually, I have a general question because, as you know, I had my surgery. Do we have to do all 4 miles the same day, or can they be split up?
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry.
It's a little bit more suitable.
Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Jenna and I decided to make it a 5K and not a 4 miler. So it's 3.1 miles. And if you want to split it up throughout the day, throughout the week even, that's fine. Whatever you need to do, you just log that 3.1 miles and report it, and we're happy.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
That I can handle.
Good luck, Barbara.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Olivia, and this is to everyone. What was the most challenging experience you faced while running? Earl, you want to take this? Oh, did we lose Earl? I hope we didn't lose Earl. Are you still there?
I'm here.
Oh, Earl, most challenging experience you have faced while running?
I'd have to say, I think on very hot days, humidity, that is my kryptonite. I think that really slows me down quite a bit. I get my amputation, like in my stump inside the socket. It gets real sweaty, and it just feels very uncomfortable when I'm running with that. I have to stop and adjust it quite a bit. And I guess even to match that, my other leg is full of hardware, and that even gets swelled up in longer distances. So like think after that half marathon portion of a full marathon, I see myself walking quite a bit, even limping quite a ways. So what I do when things get challenging like that, I make those little victories. So, you know, like in the New York City Marathon, you know, I'm looking at the telephone poles coming up, and you know, I once I hit this telephone pole, I'm going to start running, right? And then I'll get to the third telephone pole, and then I walk to the next one, and then I'll run 3 telephone poles, and I'll walk the next one. You know, and if it starts getting more pain, then I short it down a little bit. I'll do 2 telephone poles, I run, and then I walk one. But you know, it's those little victories to get through the adversity, you know, that I may face when I am running long distances. You know, just kind of adapt to it a little bit.
Okay, that's great advice. Thank you, Earl. I'm going to throw this next one over to Mary, and if you're not the right person, let me know. Any advice on how to return from running with an IT band injury?
Yeah, I can probably talk a little bit about this, just from my own experiences with it. First off, not a doctor, not a PT. If you're in pain, I always recommend visiting someone. You're pretty much talking to Dr. Google right now, and my own experiences with my PTs and doctors, so I'm not qualified, but I can give some tips. For me, typically if I'm having IT issues, it's either stemming from something with my hip or something with my calf. It's not usually the IT itself. The IT is kind of like a shock absorber. So if something else isn't absorbing the right amount of shock, it's probably going to put a lot more pulling and pressure through the IT, and that's why you're going to have discomfort. There's a little bit of like anatomical misinformation out there in that a lot of people think the IT band can stretch. It can't. So you can do things to kind of stretch out the area in general, to roll out the area to make you feel better, but the literal IT isn't going to be stretching. So usually it's almost more important to try to stretch your calf, try to stretch your hip, find out where the almost like pain is kind of stemming from. One thing that's really cool about our bodies is that, you know, you can have something going on in your shoulders and you're going to feel it in your foot. And so the IT especially is an area where it's good to really get a full body sense of how things are. And maybe it just means you have a really tight hip and it's causing your knee to kind of buckle in a little bit. Maybe that means you're going to need to strengthen up your hip and make sure your knee is coming straight out ahead of you like headlights. I know for me, when I get IT stuff, it usually means I'm just collapsing a little bit through my knee. So maybe the next time you have access to a mirror in front of you when you're running or have somebody film behind you, you can take a look and see if that's maybe a little bit at play. But in the meanwhile, probably roll out your hips, roll out your calf, and always take it slow.
Great advice. And if anyone wants to ever join our New York City chapter calls, once a month, we have the wonderful Brendan Martin from Finish Line Physical Therapy. He donates his time to come on and give us great advice, much like the advice Mary just gave us. So please just message me and I will add you to those calls. And Brendan's doing the 10-miler, so he's going to blow us all away, I'm sure. Okay. Another one is race day rituals. All right. Emily Finkelstein, what do you got advice for race day rituals?
I really like Noon tablets. I typically have some Noon before I race, and I like to do a little bit of yoga. Pigeon pose is a big favorite. I guess it helps some of the hip issues that Mary was talking about earlier, and I think a lot of runners face. So those are my 2 biggest things.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. I always like to get a good night rest and hydrate. And what I tell everyone, and Mary and the rest of the call can relate to this, don't do anything new. Stick to your routine. Your routine is your friend. And that is probably the best advice I can give you. And that's where I think we are going to close. So don't try anything new for race day. Stick to your tried and true, and you will be fine. And someone's asking about John Stewart. stay tuned to our social media pages over the next few days. There might be an exciting message from John Stewart and some other people. Can't say anything more than that, but please follow us on Facebook, Instagram. You'll see more. So I want to give a huge shout out and thank all of our panelists. Thank you, Tyrrell Schmidt from TD Bank. Thank you, Mary Cain from Tracksmith. Thank you, Billy Davis, Earl, Granville, Emily Finkelstein, Zina Whitley doing her first Hope and Possibility this week. Everybody, you're all awesome. It's been such a pleasure. I feel like this hour flew by chatting with old friends, and I can't wait for us all to high five each other and shout "Go Achilles" together. And that time will come soon. So please, if you haven't signed up already, go to our website and sign up through Elite Feats and come join us. You can run, walk, wheel anytime between tomorrow and July 26th and post your results. And we're gonna have some great raffle prizes from Tracksmith and Elite Feats and others. So thank you, everybody. I'm so incredibly honored to be your chapter leader here in New York and to be a part of this wonderful organization. So good luck to you all. Please be safe, practice social distancing, wear your mask, wash your hands, get out and run, walk and wheel and have fun doing it. And everybody, go Achilles!